Okay, first things first. I could have sworn we grabbed a Rosetta Stone while down there last time, but for some reason my save didn't remember it. And the important thing is if the game remembers you did something, not if you personally remember it. So we're going back to the Water Shrine to find it, since we need that to make any further progress. Bloody hell, I was hoping we were done with the place. About the only thing I absolutely liked about the Water Shrine was the little cutscene as we use the barrel to get inside of it. Hold on. We were down here a significant amount of time and got to an absolutely obscene number of battles here. I don't recall us ever fighting against a Water Naga before. Certainly seems distinct enough to be worth remembering. It might just be that my memory is iffy as hell, especially since it doesn't seem any more dangerous than anything else we've run into down here. But it still felt noteworthy, and this many clips in, I like the feeling of having noteworthy things happen on screen. Mostly because by this point in any game, there's not really much in the way of surprises that can come at us in terms of gameplay mechanics. And since this game has such a bare-bones story, it's a bit rougher to keep my momentum going. Assuming momentum is the right word for it, considering how I choose when to work on a given clip in a given Let's Play that I'm currently chipping away at. Hell, maybe it would be better for me to decide to do one game at a time instead of 2 or 3. I can't help wondering when we'll get a hammer that lets Morn do around as much damage as Wesker has been in Melee. Though considering I wasn't planning on being in the dungeon all that long this time, why am I not just spamming thunder spells left and right to speed things along at least a little more? Not that things are especially slow here at the moment, I just really wish I was already done with the Water Shrine, so we could move on to new territory and see just how wrong I was when I said that Gaia is the last town we can go to in the game earlier on in this LP. So many Sangen killed over the course of our time on the sea and in this shrine, and I'm stuck wondering why that seemingly sentient species never has any role in any of the Final Fantasy games outside of being random bestial encounters. Sure, Bahamut has varying amounts of story relevance in later games, but he's always important on some level in the games he shows up in. Sometimes it's just one of the more powerful things we can summon to kill things. Yeah. Anyway, we just grabbed what we came for. Time to start working our way back out of the dungeon. As a side note, should I even bother wondering why a Protect Ring has more effect than Diamond Gauntlets? I mean, sure, Diamond isn't an especially great material for armor and weapons. It's not really flexible enough. I don't think it can hold an edge all that well either. Though I suppose modern machinery does have things like diamond-tipped drills and such. It'd probably be an annoying sort of thing to get that much magic onto it just to get diamond to be shaped into any kind of reasonable piece of armor in the first place. So it feels a bit weird that a ring that probably only covers a small part of a single finger is more protective than some magically shaped diamond gloves. But I'm probably just overthinking things again. I probably mentioned this before, but it still feels a bit hard to take the multi-hit White Mage spell that seriously, even if it is pretty effective against the undead. Now, Maybe it was named something different in other languages, or maybe other languages don't have it pronounced a way that sounds incredibly similar to its Z's that makes you just crap uncontrollably. But there's no getting around the fact that in English, at least, it's got a very unfortunate name. And good God, do I wish I had something more to say than that. But I've already said everything I want to say about the water shrine itself, and while I know I have the option to just not say anything until some fresh material shows up, part of my fun in making these clips is trying to have a certain frequency of commentary. After all, I'm going through this game alone and posting this clip into the ether, unsure how many people are going to enjoy it. And since I'm not making any money or putting some extra effort into editing in for the sake of upping my production values or something, having fun in the process of making said videos is a pretty important part of it. Huh. I honestly wasn't expecting to see the same animation go backwards. Well, okay, not the exact same. It's not like we saw the bubbles go the opposite direction since the camera is moving the opposite direction. Hell, the bubbles are the only part that feels like it was animated. Right. May as well rest and recuperate before moving on. Not that our quick in and out was in any way exhausting. We're just gonna be back to heading towards fresh territory now, and I'd prefer to be about as prepared as we can be as we move onwards. Right. Where the hell did we park that airship? It would have been less of a pain in the ass if we could have parked it right next to town. Definitely another thing to respect from the Pistol Remaster, though, is that the maps always tell you where you parked your boat, airship, and any other method of transportation that might be out there. Yeah. Those trolls really aren't anything to be afraid of, especially since we've been leveling up so much. Understandable, there's only one major dungeon left to deal with before we're allowed into the final dungeon. I wonder what level we're gonna be at by the time we get there, and if we might feel overpowered when we get there. Sure, I'm not going out of my way to grind us up, but still, we have been fighting pretty constantly around here. Yeah, why would we want to avoid getting into fights when we're this damn overpowered? At least compared to the things we're running into. No real tactics and thought needed for a good number of the things we're fighting against. Just see them, then knock them down without much thought, though. I suppose part of that has to do with the fact that we've gone to an area we could have gone to before that underwater shrine, so technically speaking, the things we're fighting against are low level again. All I know for sure is that the guide I was looking at the time of recording the footage told me to go back here and into this hidden waterfall cave once I had the Rosetta Stone. So I assume there's going to be something to translate somewhere, either at the end of this, or that it's going to lead to us, or it's going to lead to us getting to somewhere that has something to translate. It's not like we can ask the mummies we come across for that sort of information. Part of me can't help wishing there was some way to actually see the money we're grabbing. I know we have some sort of mystical bag in order to hold everything we need. It would have to be mystical to hold obscene number of things like 90 potions and 90 high potions. Weight is not an issue for us. So, seeing something to represent all the coins we've been gathering would kind of be nice, at least in my opinion. But no, we never physically see the money in this game or any of the others where Gil is the currency. We just see numbers showing how much of this currency we have in a given game, which is functional, but still, at least with games that have a real-world currency, I can occasionally look at how much money we have and visualize how absolutely absurd it would be to carry all that at once in your pockets. Dear God, if Morn is landing a hit for 80 damage on these golems, then they really are pretty damn fragile against us at this point. Wonder if that means we're gonna see stone golems later on. Hell, maybe we already have and I just don't remember, since a recolor wouldn't do all that much to make them feel fresh. It's not like any of the other recolors have done that sort of thing. I just know we've been seeing clay golems since back in the Earth Cave before we even fought against the vampire. How many clips ago was that? Wait, why the hell is something made of clay able to poison us with a regular attack? I'm sorry, I just have this feeling that if something is capable of inflicting poison on us, it should be pretty obvious, like with scorpions and snakes. Those are most definitely poisonous animals in real life and well known to be so. Hell, I'd say that's the sort of thing that should be thought about when talking about any status effect. Is that enemy able to inflict paralysis, blindness, confusion, or a number of other statuses? Yeah, that sort of thing shouldn't be a nasty surprise for us. This many clips into the game, we should have signs for these things that we can read. Right, just going to ignore the fact that we beat down on some evil unicorns that are for some reason referred to as Nightmare. Huh, so we've got a random robot in a room full of treasure chests. I suppose the big question is, will we talk to said robot or fight against it? Well, sorry we took so long to get here then. It's a bit of an unintuitive location. I don't suppose you can tell us where to use this so we can get to that flying fortress, can you? Because that feels like the biggest aspect that hasn't aged well in this game. The fact that it requires you to have a guide or a very strong memory of previous playthroughs to go through it. Just what the hell is a defender? Ah, a sword that's finally better than the ice brand that we've been using for quite a while. It certainly feels like Boromir has been getting the lion's share of the equipment around here. Understandable. His class is supposed to be the most heavily armored class in the game. Still, I'd have liked a bit more love sent towards our mages, especially since they make up half our damn team. Anyway, time for us to leave the dungeon. Part of me feels like I should just fast forward our way out of here. We've grabbed everything we need to do after all, but hey, this is our first and only time in this specific dungeon, and it's not like I'm in it for an especially massive amount of time. I just have to keep struggling to think of things to talk about for a little longer. Again, bit tough to do since there's not really much in the way of storytelling or world building in this game. We have a feudal castle at the start, but now we have a robot that can talk that came out of nowhere? I mean, sure, it's odd to have flying machines and robots in a world where the characters use swords and hammers to fight, but there is so little established in this world and so little to interact with that it's hard to really give a damn. This game was not in any way trying to be immersive. Understandable considering how little space was in the cartridge of the original release. And I do enjoy coming back to it on occasion, so it's got some aspects that are absolutely timeless. But dear God, My biggest issue with it, pixel remaster or otherwise, is the fact that I absolutely need a guide to figure out where to go next to do what. It's an issue on such a fundamental level that I just can't ignore it, and frankly, it's an issue that will persist in a number of role-player games even outside of this franchise, and hell, in some games outside of the genre period, like Castlevania. Is one of those things that's become more rare in newly made games for a number of reasons, and frankly, I don't miss that part of game design. I'm just kind of resigned to the fact that if I want to enjoy some gameplay tropes, then I have to work through some stuff that annoys me as well. Yeah, as important as level ups have been in role-player games for their entire existence, this game really doesn't do enough to make it feel like something we should be pleased by. I've never really had a moment where I want to cheer that we've leveled up. I just want to rush through the text notifications saying the various stats that have raised here. Though, I guess when you start getting to high levels like 30 and higher, it's hard to really feel much of anything about leveling up anymore anyway, since you've done it so often. Especially when you have multiple characters who've done so. Still, there are ways to make it feel like more of an event worth giving a damn about, even if it would lose some of its impact as it happens over and over again over the course of a long game. May as well give Wesker a ribbon as well, since it's got such damn good defensive properties. Hell, it seems to be the best kind of headwear that the mages can have, all things considered. I would have thought that it would be something like a witch's hat or something. I certainly don't know any stories of wizards or witches that notably wear a ribbon, though maybe I'm just not looking in the right places. Yeesh, a one-shot from Wesker, and he didn't even use a spell for that. These poor Cullums really don't deserve any respect, do they? On the one hand, I like the fact that these things are just called Nightmare instead of Crazy Horse. On the other hand, dear God, we are fighting against unicorns and the game doesn't want to actually call them unicorns. They couldn't possibly be anything else. So if you bother making the sprite for the creature, why not actually refer to it as a unicorn in at least one of the sprites? Am I just complaining about that too early and we're gonna see something explicitly called a unicorn later on in the game? I mean, sure, it's a small issue, but I have some minutes to burn in this clip, so I have to pick on a few nits here. And we're out of the dungeon that you wouldn't even think to check since it's a goddamn waterfall outside of the cave. Seriously, you happen to fly over it, would you think it was a dungeon? Or would you think it's just a small alteration of terrain for the sake of making the overworld map a bit more interesting? Because I can't think of too many games where a waterfall is an explicit dungeon. Anyway, let's unclutter our bags a bit, save, then get ready to move on. I wouldn't really call this an extremely eventful clip, but hey, progress is progress. And with both the Warp Cube and the Rosetta Stone, we're closer to getting to the final Elemental Shrine. Bloody hell, there definitely isn't anywhere near enough for us to buy with the sheer amount of money we have at this point in the game. You'd think Boromir and Wesker would take off their headwear to go to sleep.